I never planned for any of this. Logan was supposed to be just my friend, someone I could lean on when life got too heavy. He had that easy smile, the kind that made you forget your worries, and those deep blue eyes that always seemed to notice too much. I told myself 100 times he wasn't mine, that I shouldn't think of him that way. But that night, everything changed. What I didn't know was that Logan had been holding back too, and he wasn't going to keep it hidden much longer. The apartment felt warmer than usual, candles flickering low on the table, the kind of glow that makes every shadow feel alive. I curled into the couch, wearing my oversized cream sweater, trying to act like his presence didn't set me on fire inside. Logan sat across from me, his charcoal henley stretched across his shoulders, the faint scent of cedar and soap drifting toward me. We talked about nothing, and yet every word felt like everything. But beneath our laughter, there was a silence neither of us wanted to break, because we both knew what it meant. When the pause finally came, it lingered too long. I felt his gaze before I dared to meet it. Those blue eyes locked on me, searching, questioning, daring me to admit what I felt. My heart raced, but I stayed still. My fingers twisted in the hem of my sweater, betraying the storm inside me. "Why do you always look away?" Logan's voice was soft, but heavy, like he already knew the answer. In that moment, I realized the choice wasn't his anymore. It was mine. I swallowed hard, forcing a laugh that came out shaky. "Because you look at me like you know something I don't." He leaned forward, elbows resting on his knees, eyes never leaving mine. "Maybe I do." His words sank into me, slow and deliberate, wrapping around the truth I'd been denying. The air between us thickened, a weight pressing on my chest. I could hear my own heartbeat, could see the faint rise and fall of his shoulders as he waited. I should have said something, anything, but silence was safer. Or so I thought. But silence was also permission, and Logan wasn't the type to wait forever. He stood up, closing the space between us with quiet steps. My body tensed, every nerve alive with anticipation. He sat beside me, close enough that the heat of him seeped through the space we still pretended to keep. My breath caught when his hand brushed against mine, accidental at first, then deliberate as his fingers laced with mine. "Tell me to stop," he whispered. His breath ghosted against my ear, his voice low and rough. I should have pulled away. I should have ended it before it began. But instead, I held tighter. And in that simple choice, I surrendered to something I'd never planned for, but could no longer resist. Logan's hand moved to my face, his thumb tracing the curve of my cheek. The world outside faded, leaving only us, two people trapped by a secret we'd been too afraid to name. My eyes fluttered closed as his lips brushed mine, soft at first, testing. The kiss deepened slowly, his patience unraveling as my own resolve melted away. My hands gripped his shirt, needing something solid as everything inside me shifted. He pulled me closer until I could feel the steady rhythm of his heart against mine. It was supposed to be just one kiss, a mistake we could forget, but neither of us wanted to stop. When he finally pulled back, his forehead pressed to mine, his breath uneven. "You don't know how long I've waited for this," he murmured, his voice shaking with restraint. I opened my eyes, meeting his. "Then don't wait anymore." His lips claimed mine again, bolder this time, and all the walls I had built came crashing down. What started as hesitation had turned into something unstoppable, and I knew this night was only the beginning. Logan's kiss grew deeper, his hand sliding gently along my jaw, anchoring me in a moment that felt too real to be a dream. My pulse hammered as I melted against him, every bit of resistance dissolving. He pulled me closer, the warmth of his body pressing into mine, and I realized how much I had wanted this, how much I had needed him without ever admitting it. I thought I was in control of my feelings, but Logan's touch proved I never was. The room seemed smaller now, the glow of candles wrapping us in a cocoon of intimacy. His hand trailed down my arm, fingers intertwining with mine again, as if to remind me this wasn't just heat, it was connection. When he broke the kiss, his eyes searched mine like he needed reassurance that I wouldn't disappear. "Are you sure?" His voice cracked on the edge of restraint, as if holding back was the hardest thing he'd ever done. My answer wasn't words but action. I leaned into him, pressing my lips back to his with a hunger that spoke louder than anything I could say. And in that kiss, every unspoken word between us finally came alive. He shifted, guiding me gently until I was leaning back against the couch cushions, his frame hovering above me but careful, always waiting for my permission. I looked up at him, chest heaving, sweater slipping farther off my shoulder. His fingers brushed against my collarbone, leaving sparks in their wake. I whispered his name, and he froze like it was the only word he'd ever needed to hear. "Don't stop, Logan." Those 3 words broke the last barrier between us, and he wasn't going to hold back anymore. He lowered himself, pressing kisses along my neck, slow and deliberate, each one unraveling me more. My hands tangled in his dark hair, pulling him closer, needing him near. The world outside that room ceased to exist. There was no past, no future, just us, right there, finally giving in to the truth we'd buried for too long. His lips returned to mine, fiercer now, and I gasped against him, my body arching toward his as though it belonged there all along. He held me steady, one hand at my waist, the other bracing against the couch, protective even in his passion. Every second with him blurred the line between right and wrong, but I didn't care anymore. When he finally pulled back, breathless, he rested his forehead against mine. "We can't take this back," he said softly, blue eyes heavy with meaning. "I don't want to," I whispered, my voice trembling but certain. And that was enough. He kissed me again, slower this time, as though savoring every inch of the moment. His hand traced my side, not rushing, not forcing, just cherishing. For the first time, I didn't feel afraid of what might come next. Because with Logan, giving in didn't feel like losing, it felt like finally being found. We stayed wrapped in each other for what felt like forever, the room growing quieter except for the sound of our breaths sinking. The flickering candlelight danced across his face, softening the edges of his intensity. He brushed a strand of hair from my cheek, smiling in that way that made me fall even deeper. "You were never supposed to be mine," he murmured, voice raw. I touched his cheek, shaking my head. Maybe I was all along. And in that confession, we crossed the point of no return. The night unfolded in whispers and stolen touches, every glance charged with new meaning. We didn't rush. We let the moment stretch, savoring the way our hearts finally spoke the same language. By the time silence settled again, I was lying against his chest, his arm holding me like he'd never let go. For the first time in a long time, I felt safe. I felt wanted, not just by anyone but by him. What began as a secret we hid turned into the love we could no longer deny. As my eyes drifted closed, I realized something undeniable. I never planned to want Logan, but I couldn't stop him because maybe, just maybe, I was never meant to.